Hi, everyone, and welcome to On the Edge with Deneen Dias. With me today is Javier Goldin from the Goldin Group. Javier, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, everybody. So my name is, as Deneen said, Javier Goldin. I'm the managing partner of a firm that I set up about 15 years ago. I'm in the Washington area, and I've been associated with Deneen in many capacities for quite a bit of time. We're going to tell you more about that. But our primary vertical, it's the nonprofit sector and government contractors.
Yes, Javier, I was thinking about this morning. I think we've known each other for 8 or 9 years. When you first came to my New York office at CPA.com for the CAS Roadmap workshop. And even back then, it struck me how innovative you were, how forward-thinking you were. Definitely were an early adopter for cloud technology, and so much so that you won CPA.com's Innovative Practitioners Award in 2019. So I think that's a good place to start. Can you share a little bit more about that award?
Sure. So thank you, Deneen. Yes, we go back a long way, and it all began when I went to New York. You were in CPA.com, and I took the road was it called the roadmap, or was
It's a mouthful. It's the Digital Client Advisory Services Roadmap Workshop.
Right. So I know roadmap was out there, but it laid out the vision of the accounting profession, which is the sort of the context for how I moved into the various areas that we moved into with the CPA firm, and ultimately got this award. So is it okay if I sort of give a little bit of context, because I think it's important to start from the very beginning and then bring us to how this happened. So I guess the whole movement of the accounting profession, it's something that we need to buy into if we're going to then delve into the various components of this. If you don't buy into the vision of what the accounting profession is or where it's going, then it's far more difficult to sort of adopt the various components within it. So I would say that there were at least three radical ideas that were brought into play when we took the roadmap course, when I met you, when the accounting profession was moving to a different direction. So the first idea is a whole shift from the accounting profession being a historical framework, right? We took the information from history, we put it together, and we provided basically financial information. And we said, well, that's all nice, that was great and nice, but now we're going to do it, we're going to be real-time accountants, meaning that you're going to get information on the spot, and we're going to be future accountants, meaning that we're going to help you plan the future of where your firm is going to be. And those were radical shifts in the way that the accounting profession was moving.
Yeah.
So, within that, when we needed to understand that in order to both have the sort of present view, the real-time view, and the future view, which has to do with advisory, we needed to buy into technology, number one. We needed to know that technology was going to be the medium through which we were going to access information in real time. And as a subset of technology, as it has evolved, is what we hopefully going to talk about a little bit more, which is the AI, right? The machine learning, artificial intelligence, how does that fit in with the technology suite? And then advisory services. So those components that are within the sort of the overall view of this profession led me to responding to a client, and I'm going to answer specifically the question that you asked about how we got this award. A client that said, this is the situation that we're in. We have a problem, we have an issue. And basically the issue was that they had around 1,400 individuals, each with a budget, and in turn 2,000 employees, and he said, I want you to take care of it. So they basically handed us an accounting office on the side. And we needed to work very quickly and say, okay, how do you absorb this number of small clients? And we came up with what was a hybrid model of outsourcing, meaning that we were going to have an ongoing supervisory role on an outsourced basis. We were going to set up within the client a full in-house team. And this combination, this hybrid, is what actually led us to win this award.
Well, congratulations. And one of the things I like about you, Javier, is that you're always pushing, pushing to change, pushing to evolve, pushing to try new things, which is, I don't want to say rare, but I would say unique to the profession. I think, a lot of firms have done it the same way for a long time, and they've been successful. But technology is drastically changing our lives in all areas of our lives, our personal lives, our professional lives. And so having somebody who is forward thinking and always looking and responding to clients' needs, I think it's refreshing, which is why you won an innovative award and have been so successful. So what I'd like to just dig into a little bit more is, and you touched on technology, but automation and how you have continued to automate this part of your practice.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about it. Let me sort of, you're always very kind with your words, and I want to acknowledge that. But I also want to point out, and hopefully I'll talk a little bit more about this, is that the move into technology, the move into these new venues, into this new vision, it's never one-sided. It's been through partnership, through people like you, through meetings, people with whom you can exchange ideas, you can talk about it, because oftentimes, we small firms, and again, our firm, we have about 50 people, 25 of which are working on this one project that I'm talking about, and then we have 25 sitting in our office. So we're certainly a small to medium-sized firm, and oftentimes are sort of isolated in the way that we communicate with others. And to meet people such as yourself, when you were in CPA.com, or the fact that we've continued our communication with Botkeeper, it really has helped in this partnership and in this vision. So I want to give credit where credit is due. You're very kind, but it's really due to many of the partnerships and people like you that I've met along the way. So let me talk about automation and try to respond to you. So the question is, how does automation fit into the whole picture? So, I can think of right away of 3 reasons why we accountants, we CPA firms, have to lean heavily on automation. Some very practical concerns, and others that it's just moving with what the future brings. So, very practical. There is a tremendous scarcity of talent. We are having a heck of a time hiring people. So it used to be that we can basically absorb clients and take on their manual work, charge a premium, and then deliver this, the ultimate package deliverables. That's no longer the case. We cannot hire sufficient people to do manual work, and we are constantly shifting into the advisory side. So the more systematized manual labor has basically disappeared from our office. This is where automation comes in. So we need to lean heavily on automation because we just don't have people that can do work that we used to do. That's number one.
Yep.
Number 2, very sensical as well, is the fact that it saves time and it saves money. To the extent that a machine can do repetitive work, things that we're doing manually, things that are already systematized, then it's a win-win for everybody, for the client, for us. We can do things quicker. And thirdly, as a result of these 2 components, is that we can shift to the advisory side. And that's where, in dollars and cents, that's where the money is. That's where the value is. The value is in the advisory and no longer in booking reconciling a bank account or coding there is no accounting firms cannot make money off of that anymore. So it's the advisory where the emphasis, in my view, needs to be.
Yep, I would agree. Well, I've been reading a lot about AI. Obviously, since I've come to Botkeeper, I believe that AI is the future for all of us, but certainly for the profession. And one of the things I recently read is that talent, when paired with AI and a bot, happen to be happier because the technology is doing the work that the talent doesn't necessarily want to work. It's not the fulfilling work. And so the talent is happier. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about the impact that AI and machine learning has had for you and your team.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So, as we talk about sort of the basic tenets of the context of the accounting profession, the things that we need to buy into in order to sort of lean on technology, on AI, buying into this whole idea, there is another concept which I found from the very beginning to be valid, at least for us, and that is that as firms such as Botkeeper develop AI technology, and we are able to actually develop a partnership with these firms, it is a win-win. Why? Because and again, I'm talking about, I think there are approximately 60,000 accounting firms in the country, 50,000 or more of which are small to medium size. So I represent a very, very large sector of the CPA firms in this country. And it is very clear to me that we don't have the resources nor the know-how to invest in the newer technology, right? So again, we bought into the fact that we need technology. We buy into the fact that the repetitive tasks need to be done quicker because there is no money there. And so finding partners with whom we can speak and can dedicate the resource exclusively to the improvement of AI, and we, on the other hand, dedicate our resources to the advisory side, it's a win-win. And when I talk about partnership, I don't mean buying a software off the shelf. It has been our experience with Botkeeper, and again, I think that we were also among the early adopters with Botkeepers.
Yes.
We have a few components in our company. One of which has almost 300 clients with Botkeeper in a very specialized way that Botkeeper helps us, and another that are larger clients in the nonprofit sector. So we have come to Botkeeper on a number of occasions and have asked them to code, to program certain automated processes just for us, and they have agreed to do this for the sake of the partnership. So when I talk about partnership, again, I don't mean and I'm not want to demean anybody, but I don't mean buying the Microsoft Office suite where you buy Word, and there is no chance that,
Right.
at least from my viewpoint, that I can talk to whomever is in charge of Microsoft at this stage and haven't changed any component in Word. I think that it would be it would be a long time until they actually do that. Whereas when we have these sort of partnerships, when we get in the very beginning, when we can have this communication, when we can see that whatever we ask is actually for the improvement of the clientele as a whole, then we can make tremendous progress. So the growing partnership component of AI has been huge. That is, we dedicate ourselves to what we do best. We don't have to invest our resources, and we have a growing, a developing, ongoing relationship. That's one huge part of what I've always believed that technology gives us, and more particularly AI, because it is such a new field, and there is so much potential for sharing our experience so that we can both grow. Another reason why AI is so incredibly attractive to me is because it offers the ability to manipulate data at the blink of an eye. This is a very specific to AI. The fact that you can take a general ledger that has thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions, and within a very short time, analyze the data and provide cues as to where the emphasis should be, whether it be for auditing, whether it be for fraud, whether it be for trends, whether it be for emphasis on which vendors one should do business with, whether it should be weaknesses. So the manipulation of data, which is very specific to AI, is huge, and it's just brand new. We are now working, with Botkeeper and other AI companies just to see what kind of reports and what kind of indications we want the AI to actually look at, and so that we can actually go back to the client. So this manipulation, which is very customized, very specific, it's a wonderful thing that AI offers.
Wow.
And ultimately, along the lines of what we talked about, is that to the extent that we develop this partnership, that we develop this ability to manipulate data, to create new deliverables, because in fact these are new deliverables, then our emphasis continues to shift into advisory, into improving our processes for the things that we do best, and just shifting the focus of our firm altogether. So those are some of the items that I can think of that have been just game changers.
You said so many good things, and I have a couple of things that I wanted to dig into. First, thank you for sharing that you represent smaller firms, because that is the majority of the firms are smaller firms like yourself, and you do represent that, but you represent a forward-thinking smaller firm that's willing to adapt and to your words, shift. And I like to think of that's the benefit of technology today, especially cloud technology, AI technology, is it's affordable. So we call it the great equalizer. Small firms can now use the same technology that large firms can use. And so your firm is using AI technology with Botkeeper, like other top 100 firms are using Botkeeper. So that embracing of the partnership, though, is something that I think is refreshing with you, because to your point, I've worked with you with several different technology companies, and you have always wanted to be really involved and have that relationship and really understand the tool, and then push the tool to use it at the max. But the biggest thing that I think that you've been able to do, and I'd love for you to speak a little bit about, is how it's changed your process. And maybe we can talk about that and how Botkeeper has changed your CAS practice. What processes have changed?
Right. Okay. So So I couldn't agree with you more, Deneen. And that's sort of I love when concepts can be clarified, and what you expressed, that technology is a great equalizer, is such a distilled and clear concept. It is an equalizer. It certainly affords us to compete with the big boys. When a big 100 company, CPA, goes to a client and says, I can offer you Intact, well, so can we, and maybe we know how to do it better than you can. So unless you guys develop, and that's, for example, Intact is one of the biggest players that it's out there. So they don't have anything on us. So it's just an amazing competitive advantage to be able to plug into the very same technology that the big boys have. And if a firm develops their own technology, God help them. I think that's an iffy proposition at best, because, as you well know, Botkeeper knows, it is such a tremendous investment of time, money, and energy that it has become a specialization all its own. So, the great equalizer, just an amazing concept. So, how has it changed our CAS practice? So, I will give you a very specific example of how it changed ours. So, when we were lucky enough to have found Botkeeper and began speaking to them, we were then negotiating what are the tasks that Botkeeper can actually do for us. At that time, we had a structure where we had junior accountants, senior accountants, like most everybody else. We have managers and we have partners. The juniors relied upon oftentimes accounts payable specialists and payroll specialists and other specialists to do some of the work. By virtue of coming to Botkeeper, we said, okay, let's look at the process. And we could see, if you were to put it in sort of a ruler, that from 1 to 10, that the first 30% could be done by Botkeeper. So we could actually shift the emphasis altogether from the firm to no longer be preoccupied with the reading of bank statements or any other statement for that matter, of the syncing of various softwares with the general ledger, because Botkeeper is doing that for us, of reconciliations, of highlighting discrepancies, of highlighting even findings of the items that are missing. If coding is not there, if documents that we had set up to be posted were not present. Botkeeper has now a dashboard that it can tell the client and us that those things are missing. So it's allowed us to delegate a large part, 30% in this case, of the work that we were previously doing. So now there is a whole bunch of people, there's a lot of talent that is shifting onto a different task. The juniors have the ability to become seniors because they can concentrate more on what does the client really want, as opposed to having their time in booking transactions or coding transactions. And the people that were specialists can also rise up because they become better at doing payroll. They become better at the payables function because they work in turn with other partners, such as Bill.com, such as, CPcoms, such as, every one of these components has a tremendous technology partner attached to it, where we can also push the envelope to improve the process itself. So it's been, as it were, a shift in emphasis in our company in terms of talent, from tasks that in the past were considered to be more time-consuming, I would say, and more repetitive in nature, to, again, the advisory side, to, what new deliverables, can we, because when we talk about advisory, it's such a huge area. Like, what are you advising on? And we could, I can expand on that, but it has to do with, if you understand that that's where we're going, then it means putting your brain power in what else you can do for clients, because we are pushing new limits now. We are delivering to clients information that they never had. Clients don't know what they don't know. So, if we are now able, through AI, for example, identify vendors who have historically, let's say, made mistakes in their billing, because they billed you twice and you did not pick it up, well, that's just tremendous, because now we're telling the client where to shift the emphasis in terms of the payables to make sure that there are no mistakes. If we are identifying, for example, that some payments always go out at the end of every month instead of going out at the beginning of every month, because that would save them money, that's something that AI can also do. So we are actually providing new services that they never had. So it allows us to put our brain power into all those things. So that's sort of one example of how AI, the cash practice shifts as AI technology improves.
Yeah. So it's allowing your talent, I think, to have the time to be more analytical and to really analyze the information, and then be able to share that information with the clients in a way that they're not used to having the data be absorbed and shared. So one of the things I wanted to, you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to talk about this, is that you have a second company. You have two companies using Botkeeper. The other one is Club Capital. And it was funny, when I first came to Botkeeper, there was a lot of buzz here about some special things that we were doing for Club Capital. And at the time, I didn't know that Javier Goldin was associated with Club Capital. So when I found out that this is one of your firms too, I got super excited that we were customizing some things to make your niche, your vertical easier. And that's also why I think you've been successful is you do really go deep by vertical and your talent and your team really understands that space. And now you're helping Botkeeper and our machines are learning more about the Club Capital space. So can you share a little bit more about what niche Club Capital is filling, and then what are some of the special things that Botkeeper did to automate for you?
Sure, be happy to. So Club Capital is also an accounting firm that specializes and dedicates itself to supporting insurance agents. As you probably know, insurance agents are more often than not independent contractors to large carriers, so they have their own businesses. And as a business, you need financials, you need payroll, you need payables, you need analytical data, everything that a small business would actually need. It's a very large space, and we are specifically dedicated to providing all the support to these small businesses in the financial infrastructure, in the financial analysis. And one of my partners happens to be also an expert and an agent in this field. So we bring about best practices, we bring about automation, and we bring about ultimately what they need, which is the tools to make good decisions. Because these are small offices, generally speaking, I would say that the median revenue of an agency is around $500,000, at least in the space that we're in. Then we're able to systematize, standardize the way in which we capture information and that we deliver information. One of the decisions that we made early on was that we were going to use, for example, a partner like Xero, right? We weren't going to just open it up as we have it in the other side of CPA firm, where it depends on the size and the clients range from different types of revenue, but we were going to choose one partner, Xero. At the time, Botkeeper was not using Xero, was rather using QuickBooks, and we spoke to you guys and we made a case, and Botkeeper agreed to also adjust its technology to pick up the information from Xero just as it was doing with QB. So that would be one example of how Botkeeper was incredibly helpful in systematizing many of our processes. Another quick example, I don't know where, yeah, sorry.
It's QBO. Botkeeper only works
QBO.
with cloud, QBO and Xero.
With QBO.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I know that we're running out of time, so I don't want to extend myself so much, but I want to also point out that Botkeeper was incredibly helpful in systematizing a process that is very specific to insurance agents, which has to do with how they receive their information regarding the commissions that they get. And again, this is all paper-driven. We talked to Botkeeper and requested they actually read the PDF statements, they create the journal entry, and they posted after our review, to which they agreed. And that also has been another example of automating certain processes that has allowed us to sort of, again, move us into more of the analytical side, and all, thanks to the partnership that we currently have.
Yeah.
So 2 examples.
Those are great examples. Thank you for sharing. I think it's what I'm hearing you say is now you're able to service a smaller business through standardization and a standardized tech stack that you've selected, that you've kind of integrated, and you've brought Botkeeper in also. And I'm glad to hear that you were the reason that we're integrating now with Xero, which we continue to even stronger. But that you're able to service a very small type of business owner that still needs the business advice, that still needs the reporting, and that you, even with us, you've been able to customize the reporting, save your team time, but deliver to this smaller business owner some information that they need. So I know we're
Yes,
at
yes.
time. Yeah, thank you so much, Javier. I could talk for hours. I always learn a lot when talking with you. I really appreciate you sharing today all the secrets to your success, and I'm wishing you continued success.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Deneen. You've always been so very kind to me, to the firm, and a great colleague of ours, and I look forward to a continued partnership.
Thank you, Javier. All right, thanks for
Thank
joining,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye now.